Welcome and hello to the podcast. I'm your host, Kyle. This is the other side of speed, where I bring you a behind the scenes or a look of what it's like to be a crew member and what my week is as a CDL truck driver and a tire technician for a Porsche Carrera Cup IMSA team. It has been quite a while. The last episode I did was the uh, Porsche Sprint Challenge Coda, and then Porsche Carrera Cup Miami were a part of that episode, which was quite a long time ago. I believe our Watkins Glen test might have been a part of that as well. So that pretty much goes back to pretty much the beginning of June. I have been extremely busy. Like I said, we had a test up in Watkins Glen for Carrera Cup, and we left our semi truck there in storage up in Watkins Glen, and I ended up coming home, flying with everybody from. We flew out of Rochester and flew home. Ended up spending about 12 days home, pretty much. I guess since this is episode 2, I should probably a little more detail. So technically, I'm a contract worker. I don't work in the shop, at least not at the moment. So when we're not doing race weekends, I'm home, unless I'm doing race weekends with other teams. And that's only if that team's schedule doesn't conflict with my current team's schedule. So I do tend to spend a lot of time at home, but I do spend more time away than the rest of the crew, because I'm usually gone an extra 2 days going to the track and 2 days coming home, give or take what part of the country we're heading to, compared to the rest of the crew. So, but this time I got lucky and ended up flying home. So I flew home with everybody, got to spend like 12 days at home, and then I had to fly out back to Rochester to go back to Watkins Glen and start pretty much the summer run. This is probably the longest I've been away from home since I was an over-the-road truck driver, running just general freights, as all the other trucks were. So this started, I left on June 9th, went back to the truck, got it ready, had a little bit of trouble, and which a lot of teams were having some issues out there at Watkins Glen, trying to get out, and some teams trying to get in to park for staging for, I think it was Historic Weekend that week. So I leave June 9th to head to Montreal, Canada. I've never been to Canada before. I've never been out of the country. I've never been out of the lower 48 states. The furthest out I've been of the country technically is in the ocean, about maybe 250 feet off of the coast of Daytona Beach. So, yeah, that's about as far away from the country I've ever actually been before this. So I had a couple of days. Like I said, I left Watkins Glen. It's technically like a 6-hour drive, give or take, like how everything goes. and I've never been outside the country, so luckily my team was like, "Hey, we're going to give you an extra day to try to uh, get to Montreal. That way, you have enough time to get across the border since you've never been across the border, and do everything you need to do, and then get up to the staging area for the track and all that." So I left Watkins Glen late Monday night and stopped in New York on my way. I got to the last TA, which is our fuel stops. If you know Travel Centers of America, the giant truck stops, blue and red. Stopped at the last one, which I think was just outside of Albany, New York, and fueled up and got the generator full of fuel, got the truck full of fuel. That way we didn't have to pay like $16 a liter for fuel. Got prepared because there's not really a lot of like truck friendly places and truck stops between the border and the track to try to stop to get food. At least not from what I saw. So I kind of stocked up on snacks and stuff and started going on. I got to the border and the first time ever, and it kind of like freaked me out a little bit because when I got to the border, I got to the place where I was supposed to get paperwork signed so I could cross the border properly on my way home, and there was no one there. So I had to chase down Border Patrol to figure out where I needed to go because the people that I needed to talk to weren't there. Ended up getting that all good. Got my paperwork signed, stamped. Everything that needed to be done got done. I head to the next station, and this is where the actual border is. And I asked the lady, I was like, I've never done this, I've never crossed the border before, so tell me what you need and I will comply. She says, I need everything. And I go, okay. So I hand her my passport, I hand her all the paperwork I have, do everything. And she looks at everything, she looks at me, she goes, do you have anything else? No, ma'am. Sorry, that's everything I have. I don't know what else you're asking for. And she goes, you're missing a piece of paper. Oh, okay. So I'm starting to get kind of worried. I'm like, crap. They're not going to let me in. I'm going to be detained here at the border. This is great. Fantastic. She does all kinds of fancy stuff on the computer and paper and hands me everything. She says, go into that building over there and they'll get you taken care of. So I go park, I go into that building, I go inside, I hand the guy all my paperwork, I hand him what the paper that the lady at the border gave me, passport. Guy opens my vanilla folder full of like the truck manifests and everything, looks at it for a quick second, puts it back in, hands it to me, takes my passport and goes, it's going to be a minute. Oh, okay. I'm at this moment, I'm really freaking out. Because I'm like, I just got told I don't have enough paperwork. Now I'm being told it's going to take a minute. And the dude walks off with my passport into the back room around the corner. Comes back and he goes, all right, you can have a seat. We'll be with you in a little while. And like I said, I've never crossed the border. I don't even know how the border crossing is supposed to be. I've never done any of this. So I'm sitting here like sweating to death, freaking out. And I was like, I think like 5 or 10 minutes, a guy comes from the back with my passport. And he calls my name and he goes, have you ever been arrested or placed in the back of a patrol car or done any narcotics, and he goes on with all this other stuff like felonies and misdemeanors and stuff like that. Misdemeanors? Mr. Mean. Okay. Anyways, all that fun illegal stuff. And of course, my grandfather was a cop, and so technically I have been handcuffed and put in the back of a patrol car. But not for any illegal reasons. It was a joke. My grandfather had cuffed me and then put me in the back of his patrol car to take me home from a friend's house because I needed a ride, and he was coming home from work and was still in the patrol car. So I wanted to say yes, but I figured that was probably not a good idea. So I told the guy, of course, no, sir, I've never had any of that. And he just kind of looks me over real quick, hands me my passport, and says, "You're good to go." Oh, thank you. Finally, able to cross the border. I crossed the border, and immediately, every sign is in French. I thought maybe I was going to have at least a couple of miles of English before I truly got into French signage. Luckily, Canada uses the same symbols for signs as the United States does. So yield sign is still the triangle with the red and white. Your picture signs for construction are still orange with like the guy with the shovel and everything. And so yeah, that the border was crazy. So I get in, and I had to change my GPS over from imperial to metric, so I could know that I wasn't speeding, because the truck that we had didn't have a digital gauge, and the speedometer was kind of off a little bit. So I used my GPS to make sure I was doing the speed limit properly. And getting into Montreal wasn't really all that bad. I ended up coming into town in the evening time, just after rush hour would be, and it wasn't all that bad trying to get over to where they had us staging, which was some weird industrial construction offset dirt area. So I get to staging. I'm really lost because I'm like, oh shit, like I don't know. I don't know everything. I don't know like what's going on. If I'm in the right spot, and I come around the corner and I start seeing other trucks, and I'm like, whew, thank God I'm in the right spot. Going to new tracks is really, really stressful when you don't really know. Even though everybody has said like, here's everything, and I have the paperwork from IMSA saying, hey, this is where you're gonna be. It's just a relief when you see other trucks there, because those drivers have been doing this for the last couple of years, coming to this specific event. So it made it nice. Part ended up getting into staging, got added into the staging line, got into the track. Nice little drive. They ended up escorting us across the river and onto the island, since Circuit Villeneuve is on an island. We had to go through some tight spots through the parking lot where the casino is inside the island to get to the track, to go a little bit of a ways down, to cut across to where the Olympic swimming pool is, to go to the very back, the very north side of the island, to get parked in a staging spot. And that sucked because so many volunteers or crew workers that were there to set everything up to get the race started and ready. Were parked all along everywhere, and they were running around doing everything. Their golf carts and stuff like that were driving everywhere, and so it was extremely difficult to try to get into where we were trying to go. So that was quite fun. And then we find out, once we get parked and everything, we're next to the helipad. And at first, it didn't seem like a big deal until later in the week. So we get parked, and we're waiting for them to give us the okay to unload. After a while, we get the okay to unload. We put up our canopy. We get our cars out. We get our tile down. We get our little garage area set up and everything. And we're all good. We leave. We go to dinner. We go check into our hotel. Which, by the way, our hotel was like 2 blocks down the road from the Notre Dame church there in downtown Montreal. Really, really cool. I will say that. As a tourist, which didn't do much tourist stuff, all the tourist stuff was going to dinner. But walking, because we were in downtown, finding parking was kind of difficult, so we just walked to the restaurants and stuff. And seeing the town and everything was quite amazing. I'll be honest, other than the fact that like there were a ton of people on the streets walking around, and it being kind of, cram packed walking across the sidewalks and stuff. Not really a bad experience, in all honesty. So we went through our race weekend, and first day was just a garage day. We got a free day to prep the cars, set everything up, go through tech, make sure everything was good for Friday. So this was Thursday. And so we do all that, and the first helicopter comes to land. Now, I will give it to the track guys, whoever set all this up. They had parked box trucks inside the fence line near the helipad to kind of block some of the wind from the helicopter at all the tents, because it wasn't just our tent. We also had, there was a tent next to us that was for the cooking, the catering stuff for F1. So there was that, as well as us and another team. And they kind of came down straight, and we didn't really think about it at the time because we were just trying to do tires, get the car set up, do all this. All of a sudden, the canopy, our whole tent started to lift up. Everybody had to jump onto the canopy and hold it down as the helicopter was starting to land. So that ended up getting told to somebody, and it got relayed. And so the helicopter guys, when they come into land, because how he landed was tail towards us, and so it pushed a lot of air towards our canopy and everything, and almost it bent one of our canopy arms and snapped 2 or 3 arms on our pop-up tents that we use for Tire World on one of the two. And so the word obviously got relayed to the helicopter pilots. So they started landing their tails away from the canopy tents. And so we didn't really have any issues after that. We still all had PTSD from helicopters trying to land when they did. So it was still a crazy weekend. Race-wise was pretty good. Both of our drivers, Ryan Yardley and Tyler Maxson, were actually doing really, really good through the race weekend. Ryan ended up with two second place finishes, and Tyler ended up with 2 top 10s for the weekend. And because of that ended up putting us ahead of everybody in team points. Driver points were still quite behind, but team points, we are quite ahead. I think we were like 8 points ahead of Kelly Moss for team points. So that was a really, really good weekend overall. Like I said, they were fast in general, both Ryan and Tyler through the whole weekend. And so wasn't really all that bad for tires, trying to get them done and over. We did have a little bit of an issue because of the fact that we did our Watkins Glen test. There was an argument about the tire allocation. And so originally we were told that tires were, you can use for first practice and second practice any tires from previous races. Well, we had saved some tires from Sebring, and we were going to use them because we used our Miami tires for the Watkins Glen test. Well, come to find out that because the tires changed between Sebring and Miami, we went from a non-chip encoded tire to a chip encoded tire in Miami. We had found out that we couldn't use anything from Sebring in any official sessions. So we got kind of screwed, and both Ryan and Tyler had to use one set of tires for both practice 1 and practice 2 to try to save all 3 of our sticker tires for qualifying, as we usually do. So that kind of made practice 1 and practice 2 kind of stressful with tire changes. I ended up able to get 2 sets per car swapped over to stickers. So once practice 2 was over, getting stickers for the 3rd set was pretty easy and quick to do. And that was pretty much all of our tires we could do for the weekend. As the cars only get 3 tires per 3 sticker sets per week, race weekend. So a qualifying, a race 1, and a race 2 set. As a state. But you can use them however you want. But you can't use them until qualifying unless otherwise noted. So Montreal went well. Ended up getting out of there Sunday night. Got back to the border. Had a little bit of trouble getting back to the border, coming back into the U.S. So I'd been sent an email from the team manager that was the paperwork that I needed. But he didn't kind of say that it needed to be printed out. When I got to the border, the guys were like, hey, you're missing something. I'm like, what do you need? I may have it, I may not. I don't know. And they were like, yeah, we need this. And I was like, I have an email that has a a PDF in it that's, I think, what you're looking for. And so I show them the email, and he goes, yeah, this is exactly what we need. I go, okay. What do you want me to do? And he's like, go inside, they'll print it off for you, and then you'll be given the good to go. So both times I have issues crossing the border. Luckily, these aren't major issues, so it's pretty simple. I go inside, guy takes a little while, it gets printed off, stamps paperwork, gives me the okay. I had to pay like $26 or something like that. I don't remember exactly what he said it was for, but it was pretty much a pretty much convenience fee. It was like, whatever. I'm just trying to go home. So I leave out, and I'm back in the U.S. I find somewhere to park because it is 1 o'clock in the morning on Monday morning. I've got to be in Watkins Glen Tuesday. I think we ended up loading in Tuesday at 5 or 6 p.m. Something like that. So I had some time, but, so I end up stopping for fuel the next day, getting snacks, everything, all that good fun stuff, getting to Watkins Glen, getting parked and staging, and then staging happens. We get loaded into Watkins Glen and get set up and everything for a 6-hour work week. 6 6 hours of the Glen week. Man, I'm English, not my first language, obviously. By the way, that will not be edited out because I don't know how to edit. Anyway, so we go through and we do 6-hour week. Pretty much it went just as well as it did with F1 Montreal weekend. And Ryan ended up with a second and a third in the 2 races, and Tyler ended up with a second and a 5th. It was a 5th or a 6th or something like that. Was a pretty straightforward weekend. No major issues for us. We got lucky, and on race 2, there was a massive crash on the start, coming out of turn 1, going up the S's through turn 2. And both of our cars had made it through. So we got really, really lucky for that. The in-between week was pretty chill. It was quickly getting tires swapped over and changed from scrubs to stickers, and then trying to get everything packed up and done Saturday, because Sunday was 6-hour week, and if you stayed Sunday, you weren't leaving until after almost, I think it was almost like 7 p.m. Sunday, because you would be leaving with all the WeatherTech crews who were there. And so I got out of there on Saturday night, started heading home pretty much the same route that I took to go up to Watkins Glen. From Watkins Glen over to Erie, PA, down into Cleveland, down to Columbus, over to Dayton, into Indianapolis, down towards Effingham, Illinois, down into Memphis, across to Little Rock. And this is where my This is where everything kind of starts to go wrong. I get into Little Rock, and our truck is a 1.3 million mile engined 2006 Peterbilt 389. It's old. It's had issues, and we've been trying to keep up with it as best we could, but something finally gave way. The truck ended up having. I was driving through Little Rock on the south side of Little Rock, and I heard a loud noise, and then the truck just starts to shake heavily. And I have no idea what's going on. I'm freaking the hell out. I'm on the highway. I find somewhere safe to pull over. I open the hood. I start looking at everything. I don't notice anything broke. Try to look at motor mounts, stuff like that. Try to look around. Why is it shaking so hard? And I call my boss, get with him. Luckily, there's like a Love's 2 miles up the road. I limp it to that Love's, take it to him. Come to find out that the tensioner pulleys for both the serpentine belt and the accessory belt are seizing up. They're not free spinning like they're supposed to allow the belt to move. And because of that, my serpentine belt had snapped. Well, it didn't look like it snapped when I first checked on it before I got to the truck stop. So, call my boss, be like, hey, they can't do any other diagnosis because it seems like an internal engine issue as to what's wrong. And it's going to take them like a day or so to get the parts for the pulleys and the belts. And of course, he goes, hang on. Ask them if we can bring our own parts. I think I can get them cheaper and faster from our Peterbilt dealer in Fort Worth than their Peterbilt dealer in Little Rock. Of course, Love's is fine. If you bring your own parts, they'll just charge you labor and everything. They're cool with it. So my boss finds out that, yes, he can get them cheaper and quicker. He can have them the next day. And so he's like, all right, I'm getting you a rental car. You're coming home. And then you're going to get the other semi-truck. You're going to take it back to Little Rock. You're going to give them the parts. They're going to fix the black truck. We're going to leave the black truck there. And you're going to bring the white truck and the black trailer and bring it home. And then I'm getting you a rental car. You're going to go back to Little Rock. And then you're going to pick up the black truck and kind of limp it home. The whole reason we did that was our white Kenworth has a ton of power. And so it was better off that I brought the trailer home and then attempted to bobtail the other truck because of the fact that it would be under less stress and less weight if it's bobtail. So whatever issue it's having, it wouldn't have it as much being without the trailer. So I do all of that. They fix the tensioner pulleys. They fix the belts. I park the truck. I get with the Love's truck stop and be like, hey, I apologize. I just want to make sure that this is okay. I can leave this truck here. I don't want to be, that guy and just like start abandoning vehicles in the parking lot. They said it was okay, so I ended up doing all of that, get back to the truck, start doing my pre-trip, and I notice on the turbo side of the engine at the valve cover, they're starting a little bit of an oil leak. Call my boss, send pictures, do all this. And so he's like, do what you can. Get it as far as you can. And if it grenades, it grenades. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Just try to get it home. It's a 320-mile drive, 5.5 hours. Which was not 5.5 hours. But I go inside, I buy a whole bunch of oil just to prepare. I get like 5 gallons of oil, and I get going. I drive like an hour down the road, and I stop, and I look at the engine, and yeah, it's leaking. It's leaking pretty good. And I'm like, okay. So I tell my boss, I go, it's leaking, but it's not leaking a ton. I think I only lost like a quart in an hour. So I should be able to make it home. I've got a whole bunch of oil, even if it starts to leak more. And he's like, okay, yeah, good. So I drive like another hour and a half, and I get to Texarkana. I check it again. I look at it, and it looks like the bolts that are holding the valve cover are starting to back out. And I was like, oh, that's not good. I don't have the trailer with me, so I don't have any tools. All the tools that I usually use are on the trailer, which we are trying to get tools for the trucks, but 99.999% of the time, they have a trailer with a pit box and tools that I have easy access to. And so I had to buy a socket and a ratchet to try to tighten these down. Unfortunately, I couldn't buy the tools actually needed to do everything properly, so I was unable to really tighten it down. And so my boss is like, well, do the best you can and then keep going. I go, okay, sure. This is where it all goes to hell. I start driving, and maybe 25 miles down the road, I get the low oil light. I go, okay, it's lost all its oil. I got to pull over. I got to put oil in it. This is what I prepped for. I pull over. I stop. I open the hood, and the entire engine is covered in oil. And when I mean the entire engine, I mean everything under the hood was covered in oil. And I was like, oh, shit, that's a bigger oil leak than I thought. So I put oil in it, and at this point, it's like 11 o'clock at night. I left the Loves in Little Rock at like 2:30, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I've driven 180 miles, and it's 11 o'clock at night. Yeah. So I put oil in it. I try to clean stuff off. I'm looking around. I can't see anything. It's dark. My flashlight on my phone isn't doing a very good job. I don't really see anything. I'm like, okay, it's just leaking. It's just leaking. I'm just gonna have to do what I can. So I continue on, and I had to stop 2 more times within the 140 miles I had to do from that point on. I had to stop 2 more times to put oil in the truck. Luckily, I was able to get it home, and we had a spare bedroom upstairs in the shop. It was 3 o'clock in the morning when I got there. Went upstairs, went to sleep, got up, just woke up at 9 o'clock in the morning. Went downstairs, and they're like, hey, we found your oil leak. I'm like, yeah? They're like, yeah, there's a giant fucking hole in the top of the engine. So we take off the valve cover because they haven't done anything. All they've done is clean the engine from all the oil that there was. We take off the valve cover, which now has like maybe a 3-inch hole in it. And we open it up, and the bolts that hold the rocker arms in place, the stabilizing bolts for the rocker arms, had snapped at the engine. And in that process, not only did that happen, but obviously some kind of line, I'm guessing an oil line that was putting oil into the valves and the rocker arms and springs and all of that up top. Something in that had broken, and that's what came through the valve cover, and that's what caused the entire truck to decide to spit oil all over the engine. we all looked at it and we're just like, well, looks like we're getting a new truck. And this is where my home time was supposed to start at this point, which would have been the 27th of June, because of the 3 days back and forth. I would have been home that Monday, the 23rd, but with the 3 days back and forth, I didn't get home until Friday, the 27th. And so, my boss goes, we're getting a new truck. You're going to fly to Indianapolis on Monday, and you're going to pick this truck up, and you're going to bring it home. Because we need a new truck, because we have to go to Road America for a test. We have to do this test. Okay, that's fine. Sucks. I'm not going to spend a lot of time at home. I get the weekend, and then it's time for a flight. And that's pretty much what it was. I went home Friday morning, late Friday morning. Finally went home after all of that. Spent the rest of the day Friday, Saturday, all day Sunday. Got up early, caught an Uber to the airport for my flight, which was early ass in the morning. And my flight got canceled halfway to the airport. And got rescheduled for like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. My flight's at boards at 6, or was going to board at 6. So I just went home. I'm like, I've got 13 hours before my next flight boards, since it got rescheduled. That's the word I was looking for. And so I go home, and as soon as everybody gets into the shop, I message my team manager. I go, hey, my flight got canceled, and it got rescheduled to 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So I just came home. And he goes, okay, cool. I'm going to change it to Tuesday morning flight. That way, because if you fly in Monday evening into Indianapolis, the dealership is going to be closed and you're not going to be able to do anything. So you're going to be out there in a hotel wasting money when I can just fly you out. You can get the truck and then you can leave. I go, okay, cool, whatever. So, unnecessary payments for a hotel. Not wasting money, but unnecessary payment for a hotel. So, I then fly out to Indy Tuesday, and I pick up the truck. It's a automatic Peterbilt 579 mid-roof from TMC. So, I pick it up, go through all of that. The dude that sold us the truck is really, really cool. He's like, yeah, I sell trucks to race teams all the time. I've sold a lot to JRM, Junior Motorsports and everything. I'm really good friends with them and everything because they come out here all the time. Tony Stewart's bought a truck from us. And he's just going through all IndyCar teams, NHRA, NASCAR teams and bought trucks from them, and it's just like, well, that's pretty cool. So I get the truck, head home. I make it home. What is that? Let's see. Yeah, flew out Tuesday, got home Wednesday, and then I had pretty much the rest of the week off. So Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then Sunday evening, I drove out to VIR for our Porsche Sprint Challenge series. As soon as I got there, we loaded in the truck, and I then ended up, when they got there, they brought 2 rental cars. I took one of the rental cars and ended up going back to the airport because I had to fly back home to pick up the new truck and the trailer to go to Road America for our Road America test. So I missed the entire VIR race weekend. But I did have a day at VIR while everybody was testing. Our guys weren't doing the specialty event test. But I did end up, due to the amazingness and kindness of one of the other team's owners, that is very good friends with my boss, he had to check his driver into the hotel suite that is above the garages at VIR. His driver wasn't coming in until after the next day. And he was like, "Oh, you don't have to sleep in your truck tonight. Why don't you just sleep in the... I've got a free room because I had to check into it. And nobody's going to use it tonight. Why don't you use it?" So I ended up staying the night in the suites above the garages at VIR because of that. And I made a funny little TikTok about that. I was in the process of making coffee, and they were on track for practice. And I had made a little funny TikTok, but it was like, when you have really noisy neighbors, and you can hear, at least I can hear it, the cars in the garages idling to build up oil pressure and everything. I step outside with the camera, and I look down over the railing, and you can kind of hear the idling coming up. And then, perfect timing, a car came around the last corner onto the front stretch and drove by. And so I thought that was pretty funny. If you want to see it, I can attach my TikTok or my socials. I have a link tree that has pretty much everything in it. If you just want to look for my TikTok, it's at Cypher056. That's CYPHERZERO 56 for TikTok. And like I said, it's in there. So that was actually a really, really amazing thing. That's probably something I will never experience ever again until I win the lottery. And this is starting to get kind of long, and I really apologize, but I hope you're having a car ride or something like that to kind of allow you to listen to this the whole time. If not, thank you for listening, and just re-listen to it when you can. So, ended up getting the other truck, driving to Road America, getting parked. We did a 2-day test session there. After that, we ended up parking that truck in their storage lot because at the end of the month, we are going back for IMSA's Road America race weekend. So I ended up going and taking a flight the 16th. Wednesday, the 16th. I ended up taking a flight over to Raleigh-Durham, North Carolina, so I could go to VIR because it's the closest airport to VIR. Go back to VIR, pick up our other truck, and start heading home. Finally, after everything, I got home Friday, the 18th. Finally, after practically being gone all but 4 days for the last 6 weeks. Oh man, it is good to be home. I will just say that. It is good to be home. We are getting ready, like I said, for IMSA's Road America race weekend, and immediately after that, we are doing Sprint Challenge at Road America. So, I'm doing a double header 2 weeks in a row. Then we kind of slow down after that. We do Sprint Challenge Watkins Glen at the end of August, and it picks up again in September pretty heavily. We have a Road Atlanta test at the beginning of September, along with a Sprint Challenge Road Atlanta race. The second week, we have the 6 hours of Indianapolis race weekend in the middle of September. A COTA test for our Carrera Cup guys at the end of September. And then we come around to end our year off with our Carrera Cup at Road Atlanta for Petit Le Mans race weekend. And then our final race of the season, F1 COTA race weekend. So, still got kind of a packed year up to the end of October, pretty much, coming up. And so, couple more doubleheader style multiple race podcast episodes coming up. I do have an episode in editing. I had gotten an interview with a Michelin Pilot Challenge driver who drives for I forgot the team name, but one of those smaller, medium size MPC Michelin Pilot Challenge teams. I got a interview with him, and I'm in the process of editing that to try to get it set and uploaded and everything. So definitely that will be out later in the season. Maybe something I'll do over the off season after COTA, because at that point I don't really have a whole lot of episodes to talk about, because not really doing any more racing after that, at least until we'll have some test sessions. We'll probably go to COTA 2 or 3 times. I may end up helping some other teams who are still running their seasons, because there are some teams around us that still run into like mid to late November. So there is that. But yeah, that's pretty much been my last 6.5 weeks. Pretty much. I hope you enjoyed. If there is anything that like you kind of want to know more about, what the insides of, you have a question like, hey, when it comes to tires or when it comes to cars or whatever question you have, you know, you can message me on Instagram. It's at 4Wide Trucker on Instagram, and that's pretty much most all of my stuff. So, but I can also set, like I said, I'll I'll put my link tree down in the description of the video. It will have my Instagram. It'll have my TikTok. It'll have my threads and everything. So if y'all want to, like I said, Instagram's probably the best way to get a hold of me. If you have any questions, things you want to hear, and whatnot, I'll definitely look into it. Maybe even if you have a driver or you want to hear the insides from somebody specific, like maybe, hey, if you know a tire carrier of like an IMSA team, can you get an interview with them? Or like, hey, do you think you can get an interview with a team manager or something from, an MPC team? I can always look into stuff like that and try to do my best. So, but that's it, guys. I do thank y'all very, very much for listening. Sorry that I rambled on for so long. I'm at 56 minutes so far. This is probably the longest podcast episode I've ever had. And I thank y'all very, very much. Sincerely, from the bottom of my heart. If you listen to this, thank you. Whether you listen to like the first 5 minutes or you listen all the way through, I greatly appreciate it. And so, that is it, guys. Thank you very much. Have a good day, and see you at the racetrack.